On almost any day here, you can see several hundred birds of 15 or 20 different species, like Pacific gulls and pied oyster catchers, which rest here at high tide. There are also usually flocks of Asiatic migrants, like eastern curlews and bar-tailed godwits, which breed in Siberia, but come here every summer. But here again, man's activities impinge. A nearby tip is not only an eyesore, but a possible source of pollutants which could seep into the estuary. The tip up there has always bothered me. It's a devil of a problem to know where to place municipal tips, but I think it's terribly unfortunate that the largest and best salt marsh on Phillip Island should have a tip spreading across the edge of it. I don't know what on earth you do with this garbage problem. One of the obvious problems that it's causing is this huge increase in the silver gull population.
That's right.
You know, in the few years, well, we've been coming here for 10 years and I've seen it increase markedly in that time, and the wretched things only have to feed on the tip and then they come flying down and they settle there in mobs of hundreds and they compete with the wading birds for food. They rob them very often of the small crabs and so on that they're getting out of the mud. It's obviously a man-caused problem, and it's got to be solved by man somehow. The other thing that's a bit of a bother down here is this increasing use of the bay by tankers, which I guess we've all got to have. I like driving the car as much as anybody else, but it's peculiarly situated, this bay, and if there was ever a major oil spill, it would inevitably affect mangrove areas like this, and of course mangroves are very sensitive to oil because they have their pneumatophores, the air-breathing roots, and if these are covered by oil, they just die. This happened up in Cororoit Creek in the head of Port Phillip. And of course the effect on the penguins wouldn't be too good either.
Well, this is right, Graham. This has concerned me for a long time. When we first shifted down here, there was a very large oil strike and we had 13 oil tankers in the bay. And I'm sure one of these days we will get a major oil spill down here, and then I just don't know what's going to happen. There'll be devastation on the beaches, the penguins, the mutton birds. We may not lose all of them, but certainly it's going to affect them, the seals.
It's certainly very damaging to them.
This is right, and the eelgrass, all these nursery areas for fish. It's going to affect the livelihoods of many, many people right around the bay, the fishermen, the tourists, the tourist industry. I can see a tremendous problem when this happens, and I believe it will happen one day. We have contingency plans for it, but it's a case of being on the spot at the right time, and if you're not there, well, nothing can be done.
I suppose really, seen in its full context, it's just one more of the endless range of pressures that we've brought to bear on the natural world. I mean, we're standing here, we're looking about, we can see gorse that was introduced by nostalgic English people or Europeans to the place, and it's run amok. We can hear skylarks, which were introduced, goldfinches. In fact, this island was one of the early places for acclimatisation of all of these things in the 1860s. And in a sense, it's such a gradual problem, we don't see it happening, but the cumulative impact is quite devastating. In historical terms, the most recent human activity is the development of the industrial complex near the town of Hastings. This is the John Lysart steel mill. This area offers great potential for industrial development. It is close to markets in Melbourne. There's a flat hinterland suitable for building on, and there's a sheltered deepwater harbour. The area is close to the oil fields of Bass Strait, and the complex includes the BP oil refinery and the Esso BHP fractionation plant, where liquid petroleum gas is processed and distributed for use in Australia and overseas. The bulk of Australia's crude oil production passes through this plant. Industry and associated port development affect the environment in a number of ways. Areas of mangrove and salt marsh have been lost. Dredging of shipping channels disturbs seagrass and other marine life. So far, the port development has entailed the removal of some mangrove and salt marsh and the reclamation of about 50 hectares of seabed. There have been a number of proposals for further port development, including reclamation of much greater areas. Industrial development also brings social change. Hastings was once a quiet fishing village. Now it is becoming an urban centre. There are benefits in this, of course. Industry provides employment and prosperity, but population growth puts further pressure on the natural systems. Urban development means that open land is covered up and increased amounts of stormwater runoff and wastewater effluents are released into the bay. This is Jack's Beach. Behind me is the BP refinery. In front of me, the bird life we always find on the Western Port mudflats. Jack's Beach sums up the dilemma of Western Port Bay. Up till about the mid-1970s, there was a great deal of interest, scientific and otherwise, in Western Port, and development was very carefully controlled. And I think it's true to say that, in general, such developments as there have been, including this one, have not done major damage to the ecosystems of Western Port. We still see the range of bird life and apparently the range of marine life that has been here for at least in recent decades. But that's only up to the present. We don't know precisely what the future is going to hold. The political climate at the moment is for more development in Victoria, and certainly there will be moves, in fact there are moves at present, for more development in the Western Port area. People need jobs, we've got to have factories, but we've got to be extremely careful and knowledgeable when we start planning them and installing them. Now, Western Port, in a sense, is unique because before this massive development started, or almost before it started, it was possible to carry out a survey of all of the natural systems to provide a benchmark of what the place possessed before the weight of development came on. Now, we've got that data. It's up to us to use it well so that we can have this magnificent wild area within an hour's drive of a major city, and we can have industrial development as well.